Please welcome Gavin.
Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, this is a keynote, so this is a 1 hour, 15-minute presentation. And when I got the invitation to go overseas, I was so excited until they told me it's going to be a 16-minute presentation. Now, for most of you who are speakers, you know how difficult it is to take a 1 hour, 15-minute presentation and shorten it. So this is a very adapted version of my lessons from a traffic light. But before I start, I just want to say thank you to you. I know what it's like to run a club. It can be very unrewarding, but I know you do it for a reason, for a passion. And I think maybe a round of applause for Chantal, because I think she does a great job. So I want to take you on a little ride and explain this experience. So I want you just for a second to imagine, and it's not going to be very difficult to imagine, a warm, sticky, humid Durban summer day. Pretty much like today and yesterday. But you're in your car. You're driving in your car, in your comfortable, air-conditioned car, and you pull up to a traffic light, you're taking the kids to school, you're going to work, and as you approach the traffic light, you see this man standing at the traffic light. And as the light turns red, you come to a stop, and he walks up to your car, you take a quick glance at him, but just as quickly you glance back into your car. It's just too awkward to look at him. His appearance is dirty, he's grubby, he looks a little uncomfortable himself, but for you, it's safer in your car, it's safer in that environment. You're suddenly looking at your phone, you're texting one of your mates, you're changing the channel on the radio. It's just too awkward to look at him. That man on the street, he can sense how uncomfortable he's making you. He can see how you stop your car a few meters away from him. You can see how maybe you roll his window up as he approaches your car. And you can see how sometimes you let the car roll a little bit forward so that he's not standing right next to you at the window. And because he can see how uncomfortable he's making you, he feels completely vulnerable, humiliated, all alone, isolated. He stands in the street that day and for 4 hours, he collects 15 rand from 4 people, along with 3 peppermints and a toothpick from a little old lady, who literally cleared her ashtray for him. The money is not enough to get him into shelter for the night, where he could have got some food, some comfort for the night, but the kindness that he receives or that he feels certainly gives him a little bit of hope. Now I know these feelings, I know these emotions, because that man is me. Before you jump to conclusions, this is not where I started my career, and this is certainly not a rags to riches story. I'm a property entrepreneur, I own 3 property businesses. I founded the Durban Entrepreneurs Club, I'm starting a career in public speaking. My life's great, I'm very comfortable. So why on earth would I put myself through such a humiliating experience? Well, I told you, I was comfortable. I grew up privileged. I've never had to beg for food or money on a day in my life. Yet there's millions of people around the world who are living off less than $1.25 a day. How many parents are in the room? I've got 2 beautiful kids. Do you know how many millions of parents wake up every morning and they have to make one crucial decision? Do I send my kids to school today? Or do I send them onto the street to bring in food or money for the family? So I'm privileged. Every single one of you in the room today is privileged. And privilege for me is not about skin color. Unfortunately in South Africa we get so caught up in this privilege of skin color. Privilege for me means I'm alive. And as a human being, I have the privilege of choice. And I know that I can become anybody who I want to be in my life. That's privilege, that's power to me. But unfortunately sometimes those of us who are privileged, we're often quite invisible to that. So I knew there were lessons to be learned. I knew that there would be lessons that I'd be able to teach other people from a platform, whether it be in my business, whether it be from a stage. But what I didn't expect was that this experience would turn out to be the most powerful learning experience of my life. Now I've got a video clip, it's on YouTube, it's called Lessons from a Traffic Light, and ordinarily I'd show it now, just a little 2-minute version, where they mic me up and they put me out on the street and I'm talking over the camera, telling people what it feels like to be on the street. And I'd encourage you to go and look and search for it on YouTube, it's called Lessons from a Traffic Light. In fact, if you search Gavin, Lessons from a Traffic Light, you'll find it. But for the purposes of saving some time tonight, I've kept it out. But what you'll see in that video and what you'll realize quite clearly is that this experience very nearly never happened for me. When I was marked up and dressed up, well I say dressed up, but dressed up in makeup and in a wig, but clearly dressed down to look like a traffic light, homeless person or street beggar. As I was about to walk out the room, the cameraman called me aside. He said, "Grant, just tell us how you're feeling right now." Now, I don't know how it is for you guys, but when we've got some emotions in our gut, as soon as somebody asks us to think about it, it puts this mind into overdrive, doesn't it? And all of a sudden I was overcome by the most crippling fear. And you all know the feeling. It's the fear of the butterflies in the stomach, it's the feelings of the heaviness in the legs. And here I was about to take myself from my fairly successful world to a position of survival, and I was about to pull back. What was I thinking about? Well, one of the biggest fears for people is the fear of the opinion of others. What would they think if they saw that I was a fake homeless person? What would people think, really? Would they think I was being disrespectful? Would they think I was looking for attention? What if another homeless person saw me standing there on the street and recognized that I was a fake homeless person? Would they get aggressive? I was very worried about that. What would people think of me? But fortunately for me, everybody in the office had seen me getting dressed up. I didn't really have an excuse. I didn't really have any way that I could have pulled out at that stage. But if you had come to me and given me one valid, logical reason as to why I shouldn't be going out on the street that day, I probably would have thought very long and very hard. You see, for all of us, when we approach our comfort zone in life, we start to feel these feelings of pain. We start to feel these feelings of fear. But what we're told by so many people is that in order to get from a different level of success in our life to a new level of success, we quite often approach these comfort zones and we feel this pain. But what people don't really understand is how painful it actually is to try and break through. And there I was about to give up on this incredible experience because of these feelings that I was feeling. And unfortunately, as I said earlier, we experience certain gut feelings in our life. I mean, how many situations in your life, how many times have you pulled back from opportunities because of feelings of insecurity? How many job opportunities maybe have you pulled back from feelings of insecurity? How many relationships have you pulled back from feelings of insecurity? As public speakers, I'm not talking about standing up and speaking on stage, but how many of you fail to brand yourselves and market yourself through insecurities that we have, and we hold ourselves back? But fortunately for me, I had to get up onto the street, and understanding the sort of mindset that I had of not wanting people to know who I was and not wanting people to recognize who I was, I made it up to the street, and for the first half an hour, I was standing at that street corner, not looking at a single soul. I was avoiding eye contact like the plague. We all know what our perception of a homeless person is on the street. They look down, they look dejected. That was the role I played for the first 30 minutes. And I didn't even get one person offering me any sort of money or any sort of communication. But I entered that arena, that place of survival, with the mindset of a homeless person. I knew no different. But what I realized very, very quickly, it didn't matter how insecure I was feeling on the street that day. What I realized is that nobody was actually taking any notice of me. It was probably one of the most emotional experiences I've ever had to experience in my life. Realizing that here I was standing, waiting for the world to help me, and they were driving past. Driving past as if I wasn't even standing there. So I got to thinking, well, what if this really was me? What if this was me standing on the street in this position as a homeless person, stuck in survival? How would I move from this position to the next phase of growth in my life? And I speak a lot about the 4 stages of growth. So you've got survival, stability, success, and significance. You've all heard of these stages, right? And you all know survival. Survival is that place where there's not enough income to match your expenses. Survival is that place where poor cash flow, high anxiety, high stress, high fear. Some of you might even be at survival now. Some of your businesses might even be at survival right now, and that's okay. It's just part of the process. But how do we move from survival to stability? Because survival is not a place you want to hang around for too long. In fact, if survival was a traffic light, you'd want it to turn green as you're approaching so you can just shoot straight through. But we move from survival to stability by changing our habits. And I don't know if anybody knows the great Dr. Nido Qubein. He's a top international speaker, president of PowerPoint University. He says there's a problem with change. So the only people who welcome change are babies in wet diapers. But people change for one of 3 reasons. Number 1, when you're hurting enough that you have to change. That's when you're at the lowest of the low. That's when you're standing at the street corner, when you've made a few bad decisions in your life and it's led you to a point where you have no option that you have to change. You're hurting that badly. Second is once you've learned enough that you actually want to change. And finally, once you've given enough resource and training that you're actually able to change. But you don't want to stick your head in the sand. And when you're in survival, one of the reasons that people stay in survival is they literally do stick their head in the sand. You don't want to wait until you're hurting so bad that you have to change. By then you've left it too late. So yeah, as I said, you don't want to stick your head in the sand. And what people in survival do so often in terms of money management, that's where they stick their head in the sand. You might say, well, Grant, if I've got no money, I've got nothing that I need to manage. Well, that's the most important time when you need to manage your money. You need to be budgeting your expenses so that you know the little bit of money that's coming in, what you can spend it on. If your business is spending more money than you're earning, you're never going to get out of survival. And the same for time management. People stuck in survival, and they're really, really bad with time management. And Gavin, you spoke a little bit about time management. Time management is all about prioritizing the time that you've got. We've all got time. We've all got time. It's just how we prioritize it in the day. And a little story that I've got with regards to time management. My little boy, he's 6 years old, his name's Thomas. And you know kids now with their iPads and their phones, every day he says, Daddy, take my phone to work, please. Use your Wi-Fi at work, and please download these games for me. And for a couple of days, I'd come home every day, I'd had a hectic day, I'd say, oh, sorry boy, Daddy didn't have time today. And every night I'd come home and this little smile would be waiting for me at the door, Daddy, did you download the game today? And every night I'd be, sorry boy. Until one of my mentors said to me, he said, Grant, why don't you go home tonight to your little boy? And when he gives you that cute little smile and he says to you, Daddy, did you download the game for me today? Tell him, boy, Daddy didn't make you a priority today. Could you imagine saying that to a 6-year-old? Can you imagine saying that to a client? Sorry, but I just didn't make you a priority in my day. When we change that thinking, it's quite impactful. So I don't tell anybody anymore, I didn't have time for you today. It's quite an important part of managing your time. So if we can develop our good habits and we can eradicate our bad habits, we can move along the road to stability. Now stability is a very comfortable place. Stability is that place where you're earning just enough money to match your expenses. You've got a little bit more food on the table, you've got a little bit better cash flow, you're starting to make a little bit of a profit. But the problem with stability is that it is safe. And most people in our country will be stuck in stability. The problem with stability is that you don't have any cash reserves, you don't have cash savings to invest in the future, to build equity, to build wealth. And when you have poor cash reserves, you're only 1, maybe 2 months away from heading back to that traffic light. So you want to push on through stability, you keep developing the habits, but in terms of getting from stability to success, moving from that safe environment to whatever level of success you regard as being success, you've got to change your thinking. Now, how do we change our thinking? And the first one that I always love is you've got to choose to grow. You spoke a lot about personal development. This is it right here. You can choose to be safe. Have you ever heard somebody saying it's just the way I am? I cringe when I hear that now. When you tell somebody it's just the way I am, you're telling them I'm not making a choice to grow. I'm happy. If you're happy where you are, that's fine. Success is different to everybody. But the books you read, the DVDs, the CDs you listen to, the things you listen to in your car, the people you surround yourself with, you can make a choice to grow. You can make a choice to be curious. Curious always starts the learning process. The next thing is thinking like a farmer. Now unfortunately, instant gratification and this desire for overnight success, it only kills our dreams. The farmer doesn't wake up every morning and go, maybe today I should water my crops. Oh, maybe today I should get out of bed and fertilize my crops. A farmer follows a systematic procedure of how he consistently waters and fertilizes his crops. And he knows he has to do that consistently to reap the rewards and the harvest that he wants. Well, it's the same for us in business. We have to focus on our most important activities and we have to perform them consistently and consistently over time to get the results that we so desire. So we have to think like a farmer. And then the big one for me at the moment is giving value, always giving value. And what do I mean by giving value? Well, you've got to give value to your customers before they pay you. Now, this is a crazy concept. But let me tell you what, standing on the street that day with my sign, I need money, I need food, I need a job, it took me a while to realize why these Porsches and Mercedes-Benzes and BMWs just kept driving past me, car after car after car, and there I was watching the car guards on Broadway getting coin after coin after coin. I was being a burden to society that day. I know that sounds terrible to say that against people who stand on the side of the street, but I was giving no value to society. And it took me a while to realize it. Why are the car guards getting money all the time? Well, let's think about a car guard, because I never used to give to car guards. I give them a little bit more generously now. But what does a car guard do? And take Broadway. A lot of you know Broadway. It's a busy street. So when you're trying to reverse out your parking, they're holding up the traffic. They're helping you to get out of the car park. If you're lining up in the street looking for a parking, they can see you, and they're pointing out which cars are coming out. They're spotting parkings for you. How many of you have seen car guards carrying packets for ladies? When you go to the mall, they see you with your trolley, and they come and meet you, and they grab your trolley, and they walk your trolley to the car. And of course they're a deterrent for security as well. But they do all of this without any guarantee of a coin from you. You know that? Have you noticed how they always smile, they're always friendly, they're always happy? Yes, they might jump out of a bush and you didn't see them when you parked your car and suddenly they're there. But they give value without any guarantee of money, but they give the value every single time. So unfortunately in business what we do sometimes is we have this sort of mentality. Where we go, no, I'm not going to give you value until you pay me. Now we're all speakers, we're all aspiring speakers. Have you noticed how speakers give content so freely and so readily on social media? If you go onto YouTube, you can see any speaker and little clips of what they've spoken on. You can follow their blogs. Douglas Kruger, I learned so much from Douglas when he spoke for us here. Douglas gives so much value on his social media, and he's doing it before what? Before he even gets a booking. But how are you ever going to attract new business if you don't show people your value? So the days of holding our value back until someone books us are gone. We need to be developing content and getting it out there as freely and as much as we can. Because we can move from stability to success. Success is just that place where you're earning more money than you are spending. Good profits, good cash flow, extra money at the end of the month. Now we can start buying that second property. We can start investing in retirement annuities. We can start building wealth for the future. The thing about success is that success is different to you or me. Success is different to all of us because we all have different perceptions of success. Chantal, success for you might be I want to just be bond free. I want to have all my houses paid off and live bond free. But success for Roger might be the Lamborghini, the yachts, the mansions in Bali, whatever it may be. But for some of us in the room, there's not enough money, there's not enough wealth, there's not enough fame or fortune in the world that could ever keep us fulfilled. Right? Money isn't the means for fulfillment for most people. And that's why there's one more stage in the sequence of growth, and it's called significance. And significance is the place where we're earning enough money, we're earning more than we need, and we start focusing our attention on giving back, on inspiring others, on improving our own communities, the things that you're trying to do now. This is fulfillment. And not everyone moves from success to significance, and that's okay. It's because this move from success to significance requires a change of heart. It requires a change of heart. And if you can move to that place where you get to a position of success and you use that success to inspire the lives of others, it's one of the most powerful feelings of fulfillment you will ever have. I don't know how many of you have read the book, The Science of Getting Rich, by Wallace Wattles. He talks about this. He wrote it in 1908. And Wallace Wattles said, he said, our purpose on earth, our purpose in this life, is to become the most successful version of ourselves. He says the reason you do that is because people watch your success and are inspired by your success, and they're inspired to go on and do that for themselves. So if we want to build communities, and we want to inspire people in the communities, go out and be the most successful person you can be. Be the most successful version of yourself. And when you start to inspire others, it's the most incredible feeling of fulfillment. But the thing with this sequence of growth is that it is a sequence. Nobody's standing here today and saying if your business is struggling at survival, don't go now and start writing checks for local community or charity events when you're struggling to pay your rent. This is a sequence. We have to develop the habits. We have to develop the thinking. We have to build our way up from survival to stability to success, because if we do it correctly and in sequence, when we get to success, we have sustainable success. And we can help so many more people in our lives if we have sustainable success. I've got a beautiful lady in my office. She's got a heart of gold. She's a struggling real estate agent. And when I asked her why she doesn't do show houses on a Sunday, which is a key activity for a real estate agent. She said, Grant, well, I go to the church and I help a course, and I counsel people. And I said to her, look, that's beautiful. And I said, if you can find fulfillment in that, that's great. But I said, what about you? And I showed her this whole sequence of growth. And I said to her, you know what? I said, imagine how many more people you'll be able to help if you're not in debt review. She's in debt review. She's struggling financially herself, but she's got this heart of gold and she's trying to help others. So now we're trying to work with her to go and make herself more successful, so that she can in turn help more people in her life. Because what's happening now is she's trying to help others before she's helping herself. Think of lottery winners in the United States. The statistics show you take a person who's at survival or stability and you throw millions and millions of dollars at them. The statistics are that they lose it within 3 to 5 years. Why? Because they haven't learned the habits, they haven't learned the thinking. They haven't developed how to use that money and how to invest the money, save the money, spend the money, whatever it may be. So I wanted to finish off with the lessons of giving. And I've kept it very, very short today, and that's why probably you can see I'm a bit mumble-jumble in my mind. But the lessons in giving from this experience were probably the most powerful for me. And it was summed up by a lady who came to see me. Her name is Natalie. She's the instructor at my gym. She's 27-year-old, she's young, she's single, she's fancy-free, she's got an outstanding personality, and she just lives life. Her life is large. And she said, Grant, I was in Broadway one day, I was sitting in my car, I just come from the gym, and I saw this white homeless man on Broadway. She said, I thought it was you. I thought it was you doing it again. So I put the window down to say hello. But she said, when the man approached me, I realized it wasn't you. I quickly went back into my car, and I was about to roll up the window, and I remembered your blog. Now, everybody in the room can understand what it must be like for a 27-year-old girl, probably in her gym clothes, in the car, when somebody approaches you. We're all conditioned to keep windows up, aren't we? Let alone a 27-year-old girl sitting in the car. But she said, Grant, I remembered how you felt so isolated on the street. So she said, I kept the window down. As he approached, I said, hi, sorry, I don't have any money, but I've got this banana, would you like it? And he said to me, thank you, ma'am. I'm not looking for money. I'm actually just so hungry. I said, I don't want money. I'm just so hungry. She said, Grant, it touched me so much. She went around the corner to the spa, she went and bought 2 bags of groceries. And she said, as she walked out the shop, she bumped into one of her friends and she couldn't even speak to her friend. She said she was already choking up. She went back to the street, she gave the 2 bags of groceries to the street beggar. And she said, Grant, as I drove off, I burst into tears. Burst into tears. And she said, it's the first time in my life I've ever felt like that. And it was such a beautiful story for me to hear, because so many people after this experience had messaged me, had contacted me on Facebook, had come up to me at the kids' school, and every single one of them, what do you think they came and told me every single time? They came and told me why they don't give to beggars. Grant, I can't drive from home to school and not see 5 people standing at the traffic light. I can't give to everybody. And I get that. I feel like that too. Or someone come up to me and say, I'm not going to give them any money because I know they're going to go and buy alcohol or drugs. I felt that way as well, so is that it? Oh, but if I keep giving to the same street beggar, he's never going to go away. I'm just encouraging him to be here. I felt that way as well. It's a valid reason. But here's the thing about giving. I think as South Africans, unfortunately, we see so much poverty, we've completely shut off to giving. I think all of us go, I've seen so much, I see so much poverty, I cannot give to everybody, so I give to nobody. Well, we're not asking you to give to nobody. It was Mother Teresa that said, if you can't give to 100 people, just give to 1. And for those of you who follow Simon Sinek, the American author and outstanding speaker, he refers to this process of giving to people less fortunate than you as a transaction. Have you heard him say that? He says, you're giving money, you're giving time, you're giving advice, knowledge, food, whatever it may be, from you to somebody else. Somebody who cannot return the favor to you. He said, but what you receive in return is the most incredible feeling that a human being can ever feel. Fulfillment. And he says, why would we not give to the receiver? Because we're worried about what the receiver will do with the gift. Because in doing so, we're denying ourselves one of the greatest feelings that we can have as a human being, which is to give. And so that's a message and a lesson that stayed with me from this experience. And I must say, leaving the street that day and coming off the street, There was one thing that I probably did think of, and that is this. It doesn't matter where you are on that sequence of growth. It doesn't matter whether you're at survival, stability, success, or significance. You are where you are right now, and you're meant to be there. It's just part of your journey. You are where you're meant to be because of every action, every decision, and every choice you've made that's led you right to this room here tonight at the Gateway Hotel. But as a human being, we have this most incredible privilege of choice. If you ever want to read a great book, go and read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And he talks about how, as human beings, one of the most powerful things we have is the power to choose. And if you're going to make a choice tonight, I know I would never, if given the choice, want to go and stand on the street ever again. I don't know if you were given the choice, you would never want to be on the street at any time in your life. It's not a bad thing sometimes to go there, even if it's only for 4 hours, because you can learn quite a bit about yourself. And you know what? Sometimes life will drag you there. Because success, unfortunately, is a very poor teacher. So if you're going to make a choice tonight, what I'd leave you with is to say, make the choice to become the most successful version of yourself. Make that choice. Because if you do that, watch how many other people you will inspire along the way. Thank you.